SEFCU Sunday Sit-Down. You can find all of your financial solutions at SEFCU.com. Thursday was a big day in the world of New York Jet fans, and of course, we're a little worried about our team making the right decision because we're not worried about the playoffs. We're always worried about who the next head coach is going to be or who the quarterback's going to be or when this dumpster fire is going to stop. But it looks like the Jets may have gotten it right. And here to tell us if they did get it right is our friend from NorthJersey.com and USA Today, our friend Andy Vasquez. Andy, thanks for jumping on Sunday Sports Buzz with us.
Thanks for having me. Doing well.
Well, we are doing well, and Jet fans should be doing well. Did the Jets finally get one right?
Well, we're not going to know, let's be honest. You can say whatever you want about this hire. The truth is that nobody really knows until we see what Robert Saleh looks like on Sundays with all of the responsibilities that come with being a head coach. But you have to love everything about the process and the kind of person they got. For once, for the first time really that I can remember, everything kind of matched up. What the Jets said the day after the season ended and after they fired Adam Gase, what they were looking for, how they would go about the process, and then the kind of person they would hire. All of it matched up. That, to me, is a sign of something radically different than what we've seen in recent years and something that Jets fans should be excited about in terms of their team having its stuff together moving forward.
I thought this was a cultural change for the Jets, much like what happened in Buffalo and then what really happened across the way with the Giants. Robert Saleh brings sort of the same thing for the Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a guy who, if you look at some of the statements coming out of San Francisco, both from players on social media and from the team yesterday, the things they say about him, I mean, this guy is revered in that locker room almost universally. And you're talking about guys from the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, who are saying basically that the Jets' turnaround is assured. And, of course, we know that there's a lot of external factors here, and with the Jets, things that come up and are weird, and it's nothing's guaranteed. But when you look at some of the things he did last year, when that defense just was ravaged by injuries, it was every week they lost, their best defensive player week 2 in Bosa against the Jets. Played a lot of the season without Richard Sherman, and still that defense was top 5 in all statistical categories. So he can deal with adversity and keep his team playing hard. And I think if you want to look at the last, decade of Jets football, the one thing that they have done really poorly is handle adversity. So I would be excited about that. And yeah, I think it is a culture change because you got a guy who is beloved and can handle running the whole team clearly. That's going to be the priority for him, and that's what the Jets were looking for.
So really the best thing that came from Adam Gase was that he got Mike Maccagnan fired and they brought Joe Douglas in because Joe Douglas seems to be making all the right decisions in his time as GM of the Jets.
Yeah, I think that is, it's kind of funny, but yeah, that's going to be Adam Gase's lasting legacy is that he was, because I think Mike Maccagnan might have been here until now, had
right.
Adam Gase not come in there and immediately recognize that wasn't working. Of course, the problem was that Mike Maccagnan recommended Adam Gase to be hired too, so the guy he recommended didn't work. But yeah, it cleared the way for Joe Douglas to get in here. And I don't think Joe Douglas has been perfect. I think you could really criticize the way he put together the roster, and it led to last year. But I also think he was trying to do something. You got to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because he was trying to make that team competitive while also maintaining flexibility because he knew there are too many holes in the roster to rebuild it all at once.
He took over.
He whiffed.
Yeah, he took over a brutal roster.
Exactly. So he whiffed on some of those bargain basement signings like Pierre Desir and some of the other ones that I can't come or Rashad Perriman replacing Robbie Anderson. That was a huge mistake. If you wanted to give your quarterback what he needed to have to be successful last year. But overall, you can live with that kind of huge mistake rather than him overpaying free agents and then having nothing going into this year, no room to maneuver.
So let's go.
He didn't do great, but now they're in good position, and that's what you've got to be excited about moving forward.
They are in good position, so let's talk about that. What does Robert Saleh mean for Sam Darnold's future as a New York Jet?
Well, it's hard to say because we just don't know what he really thinks of him. On the surface, they're going to bring in Mike LaFleur, the younger brother of Packers coach Matt LaFleur, who had worked as the passing game coordinator for the 49ers offense under Shanahan. And theoretically, that West Coast offense, it was what Sam Darnold was in his first year, what he did well under. It would fit him well. But when you look at the facts, the best thing for the Jets to do right now is to start over with a new quarterback just because of what it means for their cap space. It just gives them so much more flexibility over the next 4 years just because Darnold hasn't shown out yet. He hasn't proven that he can be that franchise quarterback. And if you restart with someone else at a lower salary, like the odds are he's going to be just as good as Darnold has been. So it's kind of tough to justify sticking with Darnold just from a financial perspective. So it's hard to imagine. You could see it going both ways. You could see them trying to rebuild around Darnold, or you could see them starting over. It's just hard for me to imagine them not starting over because of the benefit of the salary.
Well, with that number 2 pick, though, would they trade down or would they take a quarterback with that number 2 pick?
I think everything is on the table. If they don't believe in one of the top 2 quarterbacks who are going to be left, Fields or Wilson, they could stay at number 3 and take an offensive tackle, Sewell from Oregon, or they could trade down and get one of those wide receivers and then pick up a quarterback. Maybe they trade down from like 3 to 6 or 2 to 6, get a pick at the end of the first round and another at the beginning of the second or something, and they could pick up his name's escaping me right now, but the Alabama quarterback. Maybe you pick up a quarterback there at the end of the first round or the beginning of the second round. There's a lot of options here, and it depends on how they feel about those quarterbacks at the top of the draft. If they feel strongly about Fields or Wilson, they should make the pick. But if they don't, then kind of everything's on the table. And I think that's the only way Darnold should be back, is if they don't feel strongly that one of those 2 quarterbacks who are at the top of the board when they pick can be the future of this franchise.
This is Sunday Sports Buzz and the SEFCU Sunday Sit-Down. We are hanging out with Andy Vasquez of NorthJersey.com. You can follow Andy for all of the latest Jets information at Andy_Vasquez on Twitter. Andy, Mekhi Becton, Marcus May, Quentin Williams all had pretty good years this year. Who else made a positive impression on you?
Well, Denzel Mims is one of the guys that I would first think of. It was limited time, and he was a little inconsistent at the end, but you saw what you needed to see out of him in his rookie year. There were flashes of some of the things he can do, some of the contested catches, some of his moves in space. His route running needs to improve, but he's a tremendous blocker, and I'm not just technique, but his enthusiasm. It's exciting to watch him. I think he's a really exciting young player. I don't know if he's going to be a number 1 receiver. Too early to say, but there's a lot of promise there. Ty Johnson, one of the running backs who got some run late in the season, that I was impressed by him, and it's unfortunate he didn't get more of an impact to kind of show what he's got. But I think that gives the Jets some flexibility moving forward. But they don't necessarily, between him and P. Ryan, they don't necessarily have to go out and get a running back in this offseason or in the draft. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Foley Fatukasi, I thought, had a really nice season in terms of establishing himself as a presence on the defensive line, a guy who is really good against the run and can get occasionally some pressure on the quarterback. I would look for the Jets to bring in some sort of edge rusher. That would be where they'd spend a significant amount of that money during free agency, because it's just going to help out Fatukasi and Quentin Williams on the inside of that defensive line so much to have some pressure from the outside. So I think This team obviously has a lot of work to do in terms of rebuilding, but they're good enough at some positions where it can be done and they can be competitive as soon as next year.
Okay, so let's get to that. We have about a minute left. Are the playoffs next year unrealistic for the Jets?
Well, I don't know. It's so early and it's so hard to say. The basic answer would be it's not unrealistic. If you look at their schedule, it's much easier than this year.
Right.
But they would have to hit everything correctly. They'd have to improve the offensive line, add a receiver, get the right quarterback, and fix the cornerback situation and the inside linebacker situation. That's a lot to ask for, but they can get better with maybe one or two additions at all those positions other than cornerback. So it's possible, but things got to break right. It's going to be on Joe Douglas to see or to show us what he can do.
He is Andy Vasquez. You can read all of his Jets coverage at northjersey.com and usasports.com. But you have to follow him on Twitter because he gets you all the latest news, and that is Andy_Vasquez. Andy, thanks so much for hanging out with us, and congratulations, because I think your beat is going to just got a lot better on Thursday.
Yeah, I think people are going to be excited and interested, and the coaching search is over, so now I can sleep for a little bit too, so I'm excited about that.
So, well, get some sleep, and thanks a lot for jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, that is Andy Vasquez. And Rob, he's always a good friend to our show.
Oh, yeah. Hey, and now there's like something we want to talk about in Jets country.
Yeah, I know. So, instead of like avoiding the Jets.
Yeah,
like the plague.
I'm thinking the Bills have nice pizza. The Jets would be like that wood-fired burnt pizza that you didn't look at enough.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That is this week's SEFCU Sunday Sit-Down. SEFCU reminds you to protect yourself and be aware of scams. It's a good idea to monitor your credit report, your bank statements. Just don't assume everything is cool. Be an active participant in your finances. Join SEFCU's educators for a live online webinar, Fraud Prevention. For more information, visit SEFCU.com. When we come back, Rob and I head to the fan cave for this week on Sunday Sports Buzz. You're listening to Sunday Sports Buzz here on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, and the free 104.5 The Team app.